Some encounters change everything. There are moments when time seems to stop, when your gaze locks onto someone and your heart recognizes something that reason has not yet grasped. No matter the distance, the obstacles, or the passing of time, when destiny calls, there's a silent force drawing two souls together. It isn't mere chance, it isn't luck. It's as if a forgotten story rises to the surface, carrying with it the echo of something eternal. There is something deeper than fleeting passion, the true love that emerges when you're ready to acknowledge it, even if only subconsciously. This script invites you to dive into that profound call, where the invisible threads of the unconscious weave together, paths of reunion, transformation, and surrender. Get ready for a journey in which love is more than just a feeling. It is destiny. It's a mirror. It's an awakening. Leave a comment saying, "I believe in the power of true reunion." When we speak of true love as something inevitable and guided by destiny, we enter the symbolic realm of Carl Jung's analytical psychology. For Jung, significant encounters are not mere coincidences. They are manifestations of the collective unconscious, expressed through synchronicity. Events that, although lacking an obvious causal connection, carry profound meaning for those who experience them. In this way, when two people meet unexpectedly and intensely, it feels as though their unconscious minds had been in dialogue long before their physical meeting took place. In this context, true love is the mirror of the journey of individuation, the process by which every human being strives to become whole by integrating the parts of themselves that have been denied or projected onto others. Often, the person we fall in love with carries the projections of the anima or animus, the unconscious representations of the feminine and the masculine within us. When we fall in love, we are drawn to parts of ourselves that we have not yet acknowledged, parts that the other seems to awaken. Destiny then isn't a fixed path, but an inner call to evolve. True love becomes a unique opportunity to integrate our shadow, what we deny or fear, and at the same time to recognize the divinity in the other. When the encounter is genuine, it transcends time and obstacles. It transforms, challenges, heals, and reveals. This video will explore precisely that deep dimension of love, a realm where the meeting of two souls is also an inner reunion, a reflection of the archetypal journey we are all destined to undertake. There are moments in life when everything seems orchestrated by something greater, a simple coincidence, a glance in the midst of a crowd, a conversation that appears out of nowhere, and suddenly, everything changes. For Carl Jung, these experiences aren't merely accidents. He called them synchronicities, events that connect not through simple cause and effect, but by a shared, deep meaning. It is in that invisible space between our inner world and the outer that destiny begins to reveal itself. True love, when guided by this profound call, doesn't appear as a logical choice but as an inevitable occurrence. When two souls meet in synchronicity, it is as though something deep within them is answering an ancient call. Jung believed that the collective unconscious, a reservoir of images and archetypal experiences common to all humanity, manifests these connections through living symbols. In this context, love stands out as one of the most potent symbols. It calls out, it awakens, it transforms. Encounters destined by fate often carry an undeniable sense of recognition. It is not uncommon for someone who has experienced it to say, "I felt as if I already knew that person," or "It was more like a reunion than a first meeting." Synchronicity acts as a bridge between worlds, linking external events with the inner movements of the soul. It is when the outer world responds to our inner world that destiny begins to manifest clearly. These transformative encounters frequently occur during transitional moments, when one phase of life is coming to an end and another is on the horizon, amid loss, rupture, pain, or emptiness. It is in these spaces of silence and vulnerability that the unconscious moves most powerfully, guiding us to where we need to be. Destiny is neither rigid nor inflexible. It is symbolic, fluid, yet determined to place us before experiences that lead to wholeness. True love, as an expression of destiny, defies both time and obstacles. No matter how many years pass or how much life changes, it remains as an invisible thread that gently draws the soul toward the other. Because when it comes to love, destiny isn't about possession or control. It's about reunion, about recognizing in the other something we were missing but couldn't quite name, a reflection of our deepest essence. Jung also shows us that life is made up of symbols and that the unconscious speaks through them. The person we fall deeply in love with often carries an archetypal symbol that awakens something forgotten or hidden within us. Thus, the encounter is not merely between two bodies or two stories, but between two psychic universes that have silently called out to each other for a long time. It is the return of a primordial image, perhaps from past lives, or from the deeper layers of the psyche that extend beyond this existence. When destiny calls, it doesn't shout, it whispers. It appears in subtle signs, persistent coincidences, déjà vu experiences, and strong intuitions. That person might appear in your dreams, in recurring thoughts, or even through a song playing at just the right moment. This isn't magic. It is an alignment between what is happening within us and what the world begins to mirror. In this context, true love is the answer to a question we hadn't even consciously asked. It takes sensitivity to hear that call. Often the ego, the conscious part of our psyche, tries to resist, rationalize, or ignore it. After all, destiny doesn't always follow the easiest route. It challenges, destabilizes, and pulls us out of our comfort zone. Yet it also opens doors to self-knowledge and profound healing. The encounter that transforms is also the one that heals. True love arising from destiny does not come solely to fill an emotional void. It comes to fulfill a greater purpose, to awaken the truest part of who we are. It puts us back on the soul's path where time no longer matters and the truth of our feelings becomes our only guide. What we often call passion is merely the beginning of a profound process of self-discovery. The intensity we feel for someone is not only related to that person's qualities, but also to what they represent within us. For Carl Jung, this phenomenon is known as projection, a psychic mechanism by which we cast unconscious aspects of our own soul onto another. When we fall in love, we are in reality reuniting with parts of ourselves that had been forgotten or repressed, now reflected in the other. Projection can be both enchanting and devastating. It leads us to idealize, to see our partner as someone almost mythical, perfect, tailor-made to complete us. This sense of completeness is seductive and often irresistible, yet over time, the projected images begin to dissolve, unveiling the real human being behind the mirror. This is the turning point, when true love can start to grow, provided we recognize what has always been ours. Jung introduced the concepts of anima and animus to describe these inner images we project onto others. The anima represents the feminine within a man, and the animus the masculine within a woman. These figures are not merely psychological archetypes. They shape our expectations, fantasies, and deepest desires in love. When we meet someone who embodies these images, an inner force pulls us with an almost mystical urgency. It goes beyond physical attraction or emotional affinity. It is an archetypal recognition on a subtler level. In this stage, love becomes like a rite of passage. It places us before the other, as if looking into a mirror. Every gesture, every reaction, every silence reveals something about us. And in that reflection, we begin to see ourselves with greater clarity. What we deeply admire in the other may be a quality we have yet to develop within ourselves, while what irritates or wounds us might be a part of our shadow, the hidden side of our personality that we deny, but which still influences our choices and behaviors. The journey of individuation, a central concept in Jungian psychology, is precisely the process of integrating all these parts. When love is true, it becomes fertile ground for this integration. It draws us out of our center, disrupts our certainties, and forces us to look inward. It is not a comfortable love, but it is a genuine one, unafraid to reveal, to challenge, and to transform. The moment we realize that the image we projected onto the other no longer matches, reality is painful. It is common to feel frustration, disappointment, or even anger. Yet this stage is necessary. The collapse of the projection is the gateway to conscious love. When we stop loving the image we created and begin to love the person standing before us with all their imperfections and mysteries, true love begins to blossom, a love that sees, embraces, and truly recognizes. Such a relationship becomes a space for mutual growth. The other stops being an idealized figure and becomes a true companion on your journey, a partner who walks beside you, not ahead or behind. The relationship transforms into a living laboratory of the soul, where every conflict is an opportunity to deepen self-awareness and expand consciousness. The initial passion, with its potent symbolic power, isn't discarded. It is transmuted into something more solid, more rooted, and truer. Thus, love ceases to be merely a destiny and becomes a path that demands courage, surrender, and above all, the willingness to see the other as they are, and consequently, to see oneself more honestly. Passion does not have to die, it simply changes form. When the projection is integrated, what remains is a deep, conscious, and transformative bond, a love that not only adorns life, but transforms it from its very roots. No profound relationship travels through life without confronting its own abysses. True love isn't made up solely of gentle moments and radiant encounters. It also requires us to traverse the darkest regions of our soul, both our own and that of our partner. It is within this invisible territory, where unhealed pain, unrecognized trauma, and repressed impulses reside, that what Carl Jung called the shadow exists. And it is precisely in the intimacy of meaningful relationships that this shadow finds the space to emerge. The shadow is everything we have been forced to repress in order to adapt to the world. Fears, anger, jealousy, resentments, and desires deemed unacceptable. In a loving relationship, these emotions often arise with unexpected intensity, as the close bond with another renders us more vulnerable and exposed. Yet paradoxically, it is this very bond that offers us the opportunity to see what we would never be able to perceive on our own. The other becomes a mirror, not only for what is beautiful, but also for what is wounded. Conflicts, misunderstandings, jealousy, distrust. These difficult moments are not signs of love's failure, but invitations to awareness. They are occasions when the shadow is revealed so that we may finally understand, embrace, and integrate it. The relationship becomes a symbolic battleground where the ego, with all its certainties and defenses, must give way to something greater, transformation. True love undergoes this trial, and it is not an easy one. When the other hurts or disappoints us, our initial reaction is often one of defense or even attack. Yet if we pause and look deeply, we may find that what bothers us most about the other is precisely what we reject within ourselves. The shadow, when projected onto our partner, can manifest in various forms: control, manipulation, disdain, or silence. Everything that hurts us in some way also reveals something essential. In this process, the relationship becomes a kind of alchemical furnace. It is where the ego is melted down, illusions are burned away, and our most primitive impulses are confronted. But it is also in this fire that love is purified. The love that stands firm against storms is not one that ignores conflicts, but one that dives into them with courage and truth, understanding that loving also means enduring the pain of growth, letting go of idealizations, and accepting imperfection. The journey of the shadow is a personal one, but a relationship can intensify that journey. It brings to the surface what might otherwise go unnoticed on our own. By sharing this journey with someone, we create the opportunity to heal deep wounds. Yet this requires awareness and humility. It means taking responsibility for our own emotions without blaming the other, and viewing moments of crisis as chances for integration. Jung said that what we do not confront in our unconscious returns as destiny. In our relationships, this is evident. We repeat patterns, sabotage ourselves, and attract those who trigger exactly what we fear most. But if we are willing to listen to the lessons these repetitions offer, they transform into gateways. Love stops being a prison and becomes liberation. It stops being a mere fantasy and turns into truth. It is at this point that the bond grows truly strong, not because of shared interests or good times, but because both have journeyed together through chaos. The love that survives the shadow is one that does not idealize but respects, one that does not expect perfection but offers presence, one that does not shy away from conflicts but uses them as a springboard for growth. Thus, the challenges experienced in a relationship are not failures but stages. Every argument, every painful silence, every crisis is an opportunity to access something deeper within ourselves. When we truly see our partner with conscious eyes, love transforms into a healing force. It not only sustains the relationship, it sustains the soul. When love transcends the barriers of desire, projection, and conflict, it enters sacred territory, a space where the connection between two people is no longer merely emotional or physical, but symbolic and archetypal. Jung describes this experience as the convergence of internal polarities, the moment when the anima and animus cease to be mere images projected onto the other and instead become recognized and integrated within oneself. It is the union of opposites, the alchemical marriage of the soul. And when this occurs between two conscious beings, something rare and transformative is born: total love. The anima, the representation of the feminine in a man, and the animus, the manifestation of the masculine in a woman, serve as bridges between the ego and the unconscious. Initially, we project these figures onto real people. They appear in our dreams, our impulses, our idealizations. But as we journey through individuation, we begin to see them as living parts of our own psyche. Then the other stops being a mirror of our incompleteness and becomes a true companion, recognized not because we are lacking something, but because we are finally able to see beyond the reflection. The reunion of souls at this level of consciousness is deeply symbolic. It is no longer driven by a need to fill a void, but by a desire to share wholeness. In this bond lies a silent harmony that requires neither proof, possession, nor control. It is the acknowledgement that true love is not fusion, but communion. Two souls that, in meeting, do not nullify each other, but rather expand together. This union is sacred because it reflects the very movement of the soul toward wholeness. Wholeness isn't about perfection, it's about integration. It is when the inner masculine and feminine coexist in balance that a person can relate to another, not from a place of lack, but from fullness. In this way, love stops being a demand and becomes an offering. Relationships that reach this level transcend everyday life. They become spiritual journeys where your partner is not only a lover, but also a teacher, a mirror, a guide. The relationship turns into a field of symbolic fulfillment, where the dramas of the ego give way to the dialogue of the soul. Love is then experienced as an archetypal phenomenon, a living manifestation of the self, the unifying center of the psyche, the image of the divine within us. This love isn't confined to words or romantic gestures. It lives in the silences that comfort, in the glances that understand, in the presence that supports. It embraces cycles, respects timing, and acknowledges that not every day will be filled with ecstasy, but that beauty can be found even in the routine. It is a love that breathes in tandem with life without suffocating it, one that recognizes freedom as the basis for true surrender. The sacred union also faces its trials. It is not immune to challenges, but meets each one with emotional maturity and a symbolic vision. Every crisis is seen as a new stage in the process of individuation rather than as a threat to the bond. There is trust in the journey and in the mutual commitment to truth, creating an intimacy that is rare, a kind that does not fear the nakedness of the soul. It is important to note that this form of love does not require both individuals to be perfect or enlightened. It simply asks for a willingness to walk the path. The reunion of souls is not a fixed destiny, but a continuous choice, a delicate construction built on listening, empathy, respect, and above all, awareness. The other does not come to save us, but to walk beside us as we save ourselves. This love is never in a hurry. It understands that the time of the soul is not measured by the clock. It blossoms when the moment is right and grows stronger with care. And when at last two people achieve this state of togetherness, they become more than lovers. They become living symbols of a broader reality, where love is not just a feeling, but an expression of the eternal within the human. Throughout this journey, we learn that true love is not merely a meeting between two people, it is a reunion with the forgotten parts of our soul. When destiny calls, it doesn't point outward, but inward. It guides us along paths of synchronicity, reveals our projections, exposes our shadows, and finally invites us to wholeness. True love is not sustained by an ideal, but by consciousness. It flourishes when we have the courage to see the other as they truly are, and even more when we embrace the truth they awaken within us. This is the beauty of the sacred reunion, two souls that do not seek each other out of necessity, but recognize one another through an essential affinity, a love that goes beyond romance to pulse as a path of transformation and self-discovery. If this message resonated with you, if something inside felt that silent call, subscribe to the channel to continue this inner journey. And don't forget, the video currently on screen was chosen to deepen this process even further. Watch it until the end, and let the awareness of true love transform your story as well. Destiny has spoken. Now, it is your soul's turn to respond.